Hello and welcome everyone to today's workshop on the France Excellence Eiffel Scholarship Program. Um, we so we'll begin the session as always by talking a little bit about Project EduAccess, and then I'll introduce you to your panelists, and then they will take it forward and talk to you about the scholarship program. They'll give you an overview of the application, of the scholarship program, give you an understanding of the application process, what the timeline looks like, what is the eligibility criteria, and then give you sort of general tips about the scholarship, and then we move to a Q&A part. I'd request everyone to keep themselves on mute during the presentation. And of course, when we move to the Q&A, you can raise your hand, unmute, and ask your question. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time or are not familiar with Project EduAccess, we are a network of sort of students and organization that works towards making opportunities for higher education, leadership, and sort of professional access opportunities accessible to learners that come from marginalized communities. We understand that a lot of these opportunities are sort of systematically and structurally denied to sort of learners from marginalized communities through information and dispositional barriers. And so we try to make all of these opportunities slightly more accessible. We do this by running a mentorship program called the India Graduate Mentorship Program, which is currently running. And we also do a lot of in-person and online capacity building and sort of informational sessions. So, for example, today's session is a part of that. And then we also engage in advocacy with institutions to make, again, all of these opportunities more accessible. Now we have two really wonderful panelists. You might be familiar with one of them because she did a session with us just last week. So we've pulled her in again. So we have with us Prarthna, who is a PhD candidate at Sciences Po in Paris and was the recipient of this scholarship in 2021. We also have with us Kunal, who is also a PhD candidate in economics at Sciences Po and was a recipient of the scholarship in the same year, 2021 to 2023. So thank you so much, the two of you, for being here today and taking this session. And I will hand it over to you now to talk about the scholarship.
Thank you so much for organizing this session, and thank you to all the participants for showing their interest. So what we thought is I'll start with a brief overview with what the scholarship is all about, and then we could go about the application process, the selection process, and also the criteria. So Eiffel Scholarship is basically the flagship program that has been started by the French Ministry of Europe and Foreign Affairs. The main aim of the program is to bring, like meritorious students to France. So they assist French universities in doing so. They provide financial assistance for masters at master's level and doctoral level. So like my friend Kunal will elaborate about the eligibility criteria in the further slides. I wanted to briefly talk about the benefits of the scholarship because there are many. Firstly, you will be getting a monthly stipend of 1,181 euros. So every month, your bank account will be credited with that amount. You have the complimentary health insurance. You have sponsored to and fro flight tickets. So, for instance, when you're coming from India and like you're going back, you have one round trip that is taken care of by the Campus France, which is the government of France. Then you have access to €1 meals. So if you're a scholarship student in France, you also get access to €1 meals. Like you have cruise canteens here. So you have access to that. When you're applying for the visa, you do not have to pay the visa charges. And I think most important is housing assistance, because especially in a city like Paris, finding a house can be a very tiresome task. So the scholarship also helps you to find an accommodation, and in most of the cases they allot your accommodation. So these are the few benefits of the scholarship. And now I'll, hand over the floor to Kunal to talk about the other aspects of the scholarship.
Thank you, Prarthna, and welcome everyone. It's a great turnout today, so thank you for that. And yes, so for the master's program, the Eiffel Scholarship will give you 1,200 euros average per month, and for doctoral students, it's going to be 1,700 a month. So it's almost at par, if not at par, with the funding that other departments provide in France, especially in Paris. So that's pretty good. And for the eligibility criteria, one thing that I've noticed amongst a lot of people who contact me on LinkedIn about the scholarship and so on is that students cannot directly apply for the scholarship. You have to receive an admissions offer from an institution in France, and that is your host institution, is going to send your application to the French ministry. So if you send an application to the Eiffel program, you won't be declared eligible for the program. Your application won't be read. So again, you need an admission offer with an institution that participates in the program, and this is why host institutions have a separate deadline for Indian and other students who want to participate in this in the program and get the scholarship. So we'll get into the timelines later, but yeah, different timelines depending on your host institution and where do you want to apply. And in terms of the age for graduate or master's programs, be it executive or 2-year programs, you need to have 25 years of age up to that, and 30 for any doctoral program. Same thing for the doctoral program, you need a hosting agreement and you need an admissions letter from your department, from whatever host institution that there is. Can we move to the next slide, please? Okay, so again, the admission process, you'll need to have an admission offer without which you cannot apply. And so the thing is, your application to apply for a specific program, graduate or doctoral, your application documents, your CV, your motivation letters, and so on, would practically be the same. And the same dossier will be handed over to the Eiffel program by your host institution. So, say you have about 1,000 international admissions into some institution. Apart from the 1,000 admits, there's going to be say 50 or 100 of them selected for to be considered further into the scholarship program. So based on those requirements, you may be required to send another statement of interest, which specifically highlights your need for the scholarship and not the admission per se, because you've written another letter for your admission. So that's it. Just your application for the admission into the host institution will be used for to be considered for the Eiffel scholarship. Next slide. So yes, the timeline, in terms of the timeline, the applications are now open. They opened in September, end of September. And depending on your host institution, your deadlines will be a bit different. So for example, at Sciences Po, as an Indian national, to be considered for the Eiffel program, your deadline is now, basically next week. And once you get admitted, you get your result for the admission around December, after which you'll have a few weeks to figure out all the other necessary details and documents you need to provide to Sciences Po, which will be sent to Campus France. And depending on your host institution, this might change. So you need to check it again. And the results come out in the first week of April with a specific waitlist, which I'll come to it. Next slide, yeah. So for the selection, again, your host institution will select a small pool of all the international admissions, and they will send that dossier of your dossier to Campus France. And then the relevant ministry, which is the Ministry for Europe and Foreign Affairs, will select a specific list of recipients. On average, we have about 5 to 6 Indian recipients. It changes all the time. Sometimes it's higher. I think last year it was a bit higher, but on average, 5 to 6. And again, there is a wait list, but the wait list is not made public. So for, say, the Chartpak scholarship or the INLACS, which is the Indian scholarship, usually there is a wait list which is released, but not all the time. Campus France never releases the wait list, but depending on people who reject the award, you may be contacted for the wait list. So for example, I received the Chartpak scholarship before the Eiffel, and I was waitlisted for the Eiffel, basically rejected, but then I did not know I was waitlisted. But then someone rejected the Eiffel Scholarship from the cohort for 21. And based on that and my rank in the waitlist, I was provided a seat in the Eiffel program. So I had to refuse the chargeback. So all hope is not lost after April. You still have to wait a few more months, at least a month before you join in, and then you might hear something from Campus France. I think I'll hand it over to Prarthna now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kunal. So I think like after you get the admission offer, the institute will ask you for your CV, of course, and they'll ask you for professional project, but it is nothing but a statement of purpose about why you think you should be considered for the scholarship. And I think this is the only document where you have complete control in the application process, right? Because you apply to the institute and the institute has to shortlist you. So this is your chance of sort of, having a dialogue with the the people who are in charge of the scholarship. So I wanted to highlight about what aspects should be included in the professional project. At least that's what, we did. It worked out for us. So, this is how we went about. So first of all, I think you should understand that it is a scholarship that is given by the French government and they want you in France. It is not just like the particular institute. It's it's France in general. So you need to mention that why you want to come to France to study, and what is it that makes you want to study here. Second, then you highlight about why do you want to study in this particular institute. So for instance, like for Sciences Po, I wrote about, because they have great research facilities, they focus on mixed method. So again, that would differ for you on the basis of subject. Then third aspect, you need to focus on why are you doing this degree. Like this aspect you have already, elaborated a little in your masters. It would be in your master's admission offer basically, but here it would be a little brief. The main focus would be why France here, okay? And then again, how is it connected to your future goals? How do you, want to take it ahead? So in my case, I had mentioned in my master's that, I want to do a PhD, and that is why I wanted to do this research master's degree at Sciences Po. So, it needs to have a flow. And then important part is how will the scholarship help? So you need to highlight about why you think you are the ideal candidate. So you have already illustrated that by saying why France, why a degree, why this institute. But you should also illustrate why do you need the scholarship. In terms of financial aid, you will also be a part of work, that supports Eiffel scholars, and so that is an important aspect that you need to highlight. Can we go to the next slide, please? And yeah, so I think one important aspect is do not summarize your CV, because a lot of people who write their statement of purpose for the scholarships usually highlight about what is already there in the CV. I think the professional project is to supplement your CV. So already the things that are there in your CV, it doesn't make sense to just, add it in your SOP. You have, so the page limit is usually they ask you to write off 1 page or 2 pages. So you have like very limited space to say what you want to say. Your CV is already speaking for itself. So in the statement of purpose, highlight the things that your CV doesn't highlight. Okay, so show your actual need of aid, why you require this scholarship to come to study in France. Like for like Kunal and me, I think the scholarship was very important in terms of financial help to be able to come, because that was one of the major reasons we could like think of coming to France, because the scholarship covers a lot aspect in terms of finances. So that is something that you need to illustrate through the professional project. And then yeah, how you also need to focus on what are the skills that help you move to France, and also differentiate between why this program, like I said, why you are doing this degree. and how is it different from the other programs that already exist in India, right? There's a specific motivation for you to apply to France to come and pursue this degree as compared to what is already being offered. So in my case, I focused on the research aspect. So I knew that I wanted to go in social science research, but unfortunately, like for political science, like the quantitative aspect of political science back home is not that developed. And at Sciences Po, they offer, mixed method training, and that is something I wanted to learn, right? So I highlighted that as, a part of my professional project, and I also said that, okay, these are my future goals, that I want to do a PhD. So you have to connect these aspects and, just um, connect it in a flow. And that is what they want to see, that, why they need to be convinced that, okay, we want this person in France. That should be the entire goal when, you're drafting your professional project. And like, yeah, and also like in CV, while you're, drafting your CV, don't just focus on academic excellence, or don't just focus on professional aspects. Tailor your CV accordingly, show up your best strengths. And if you if you if you want any one of us to like go through your CV, you can like always, contact us. We'll drop our email IDs in the chat box, and you can also connect with us through LinkedIn if you want us to go through. And most importantly, I think go through the Campus France website. It is always nice before applying to scholarships. Like this applies to all the scholarships, just go through the website, uh see what they want. So a lot of times the description of the scholarship tells you a lot of things. While when you go to the website of the scholarship, they say that, okay, what are the kind of students they're looking for, right? So you need to take these details into consideration and draft a professional statement accordingly. And yes, like I said, do not hesitate to contact us. So before we go to the question section, I just wanted to ask Kunal if there's anything he would like to add, if there's anything, that I missed.
No, I think everything is covered. And again, for the age limit is specifically mentioned on the Campus France website, but I'm not sure if the bylaws of the Eiffel program specifically mention the inclusion of age. So it's something that you should check once again. But from my understanding, the age limit 25 and 30 is something which is more indicative of you being a talented youth. That's the usual age range within which they provide the scholarship. But again, check the bylaws. That's it.
So yeah, like we could go to the next slide. We could take questions if you have any. Do the English require certificate? No, they do not have any English language requirement as such. In fact, even to apply to Sciences Po, we did not give any English language test. So that was one of the reasons like we applied to Sciences Po. I think Anjali has a question. She has raised her hand.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I am currently working as an English language assistant in France. So it's by the French Ministry of Education as well. And I want to apply for applied mathematics masters in PSL, Paris Sciences et Lettres. And I was looking forward to apply like this month, as in October to Jan wala intake, so that I can get in maybe like hopefully by the next September wala intake. So I've not yet applied because mentorship has not yet started. So I've been waiting for that. And like, what are the chances that I'll be able to apply for this uh, scholarship? Like, I have not yet applied to universities only. So I
Yeah,
was really
okay.
concerned.
Okay, no worries. So just email your advisor or your contact person at PSL and ask them about the actual process of application, because usually it starts by now. The thing is,
Yeah.
the January 10th deadline is for PSL to send your application to Campus France, which means you still
Okay.
have 2 more months, technically, for your
Yeah.
case only. You have 2 more
I
months
don't know how
until
to
you
go
get
about with the application. That is why I was waiting for the
yeah, yeah,
mentorship
yeah.
because I
So
don't know
just
how to
talk to
contact
them.
the
Yeah.
university.
Talk to your admin person about the admissions first, get your admissions
Okay.
letter, and then they will have time until the 10th of January, around that time, to send your application to Campus France. You should just be worried about your admissions offer, because you personally can't do anything
Yeah.
about your Eiffel
Yeah.
deadline.
How do we contact the university? Um, I have
Just
not yet.
email anyone from your admin, depending on your program. Just your program will definitely have an administrative officer. So just email them,
Okay.
CC everyone, and figure it out.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
So
and also, yeah, sorry, Miss Ma, I was saying something. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think my like, I agree with what Kunal said, and like I think your first priority should be figuring out your admissions and also
Yeah.
seeing what is the Eiffel application deadline, and it should be around like end of October usually. So if like it's possible to do an application okay, I did it in 15 days. It was
Okay.
because I realized that Eiffel Scholarship was the deadline was in 15 days, and I wanted to apply for that, and I managed to do that. So I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
not possible. It is something which is doable, and like we all are here to help
Yeah.
you out, but just figure out the deadlines, because I think the institutions will have their own rules and regulations. So
Yeah.
you like you give your application and then like just wait for the results to come in. So just check
Yeah.
out.
Okay.
Misbah wanted to say something.
no, I just wanted to add to what Kunal was saying, that usually for every course there's a website, and somewhere on that page there's an email ID of somebody who can be contacted, and they are very responsive. Like, their work is to respond to emails from potential applicants and students. So just send an email and ask all your queries, and if they don't reply, send a follow-up, but usually they do reply within a week.
And
Yeah.
my
Like,
suggestion would be to contact them this week, because next week I think they are
yeah.
going on vacation.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It's like October vacations have started, I know.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
So,
expecting a reply at that time would be a little difficult. So like
yeah.
initiate contact
Yes,
today.
I wanted to know when the cohort mentorship will be starting, because I've been mailing the operations EduAccess and I've not been getting replies.
I think
So that I can like.
from us by the end of this week.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for your response.
Ritam, do you want to ask your question?
Hi, am I audible?
Yes.
Hi, so I wanted to ask specifically to Kunal, if that's okay. So I heard Prarthna say that she said she was applying for sciences PU there because the quantitative methodology in political science in India is not developed. So that was one way of saying it. For PhD, do you think like similar ways are there? How we could distinguish between courses here for PhD specifically
Okay.
compared.
Okay, got it. Um, Compared to India, I think there's been some new legislation which I think amalgamates the MPhil and the PhD in India. Am I right?
The
I
National
mean, I
Education.
guess MPhil is not there anymore. I guess it's just PhD.
Yeah. So to my understanding, the PhD in India, is it still 5 years? Because
Yeah,
they've amalgamated some things, right? Yeah. Okay. If it's still 5 years in India, then here at Sciences Po or in France, it's 3 years. So in the 5 years that you do in India or say in the US, you usually have some extra coursework. So you'll relearn everything that you've done in your graduate program again, and then you do your research. But especially for Sciences Po, you have a 3-year contract in which you just do your research and start working on your dissertation. So the focus is just on you as a researcher, and you're basically an employee, a salaried employee of the department. So for economics and for Sciences Po, and for political science, you do your research, and then you also become a teaching assistant with depending on who's hiring. So you teach a little bit, you have a light load in teaching, you just assist fellow professors and full professors, and then you do your own research and attend seminars. So in that way, it's very hands-on, meaning you only have 3 years and up to 6 years. Actually, you can extend a few more years if you wish to. So you can extend it a few more years to finish your dissertation, but the focus is just on your thesis. In those regards, you have a lot of independence in the kind of methods you want to pursue and the way you want to do it. You have independence on your timeline as well. Specifically on quantitative methods, Sciences Po Economics and Sciences Po Political Science is supremely good. I'm not sure about the timeline of political science department and how old it is, but for econ, it's just 14 years old. So within those 14 years, we've been doing supremely good. And if you want to take a look at some specific pointers on publications, citations, and rankings, I would say for economics, look at Ideas Repec. I'll also write it down in the chat. Ideas Repec is really good for you to understand different departments in the world, including India as well, in terms of not just graduate success, but also the publications of the faculty. So for Sciences Po Economics, we've been in the top 25 band for at least 3-4 years now. I think we also surpassed Oxford at point and PSC and all that. It's been doing pretty good. So if India takes 5 years, to my understanding, Sciences Po will take you 3 to 4 years, and you'll just work on your thesis and your job market paper. We don't have coursework compulsory. You can take up coursework in audit courses if you wish to, but it's sole focus on your thesis. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. Can I ask you a just follow-up question?
Sure, yeah.
So, yeah, my research specifically is on inequality based on capabilities and functionings. Do you know if there's similar research going on there regarding the same or adjacent at least?
Adjacent, there's been research on intergenerational mobility and social mobility for sure. I have another classmate of mine who's doing it for Africa and Mauritius. Inequality from a macroeconomic perspective, yes, there's tons and tons and tons of research. My research focuses on intergenerational mobility as well, but from a decolonial perspective. So broadly, your idea would be around political economy and development economics. So you have tons and tons of researchers along those lines at Sciences Po and at PSC as well, Paris School of Economics. So there are people who are working on political economy and along your lines for sure. You might not be able to find someone who's specifically working on your topic, but that should not dismay you from applying, because you would be the first one to do it with a huge network of people who are working on similar things. So you should be good to go.
Okay, thank you so much.
Great, thanks.
Aisha, before I call on you to ask your question, I just want to let everyone know that we've put a link to the website for the scholarship in chat. But I'm going to post it again just in case it's so you can have a look at more details over there. But Aisha, go ahead.
Hi, my question is to Prarthna. Prarthna, this is the second session I'm attending that you have taken. My question is regarding your previous session. Actually, you recommended that we reached out to professors regarding a research proposals over Blue Sky, and there's a huge wait list in Blue Sky. Is there any other alternative that you can recommend that, if some professor is not on Twitter, which I have found a couple I wanted to reach out to, how else can I start the communication? Because I don't want to send an email without a proper research proposal that's ready in my hand. Does that look unprofessional if I do that, or whatever you have suggestions, sir?
See, Blue Sky, yeah, I think that's one of the drawbacks of the site. But I can send you the invite code. Like I have like one code if you want. You can use it to join the site. And with regards to, I think you can email the professor if you do not have a solid research proposal as such. You can say that, okay, these are the themes that you're working on. Again, go to the department's website. They'll have their institutional email ID. So reach out to them, say that, okay, this is something that you want to work on, and this is something that you have already worked on, and and why you want them to, basically why are you connecting with them, and they'll be fine. And you can also tell them that, okay, I'm working on my proposal. I'm hoping that my proposal would be ready by this time, so can I reach out to you in that case. So you can go ahead and ask, just see if the institution has some, protocols with regards to that. Because like, as I had mentioned last session, some institutions clearly mention that you are not supposed to, reach out to supervisors. So just check on that. But otherwise, most of the people I have reached out to are very, supportive. They also, they are willing to go through the research proposal and give feedback. So I don't think that should be an issue.
Oh, so I don't know. Can you send me the invite?
Yeah. I can send you the invite code. So
Yeah.
I'm like dropping my email ID on the chat.
Oh,
Like
great.
Kunal has already, dropped his email ID. I'll also drop mine. So, we can connect later. Not an
Thank
issue.
you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks. Yeah, bye.
Perfect. I'll just take questions from chat now. I know that Prarthna and Kunal, you've been answering them, but because this is a recorded session and some people may not know what answers are being put in chat, so I'm just gonna ask them. So if you could briefly respond to them. So first is I just read the website and it had no application link, and we need to apply via email, and we need to contact Campus France of our country. How can we find their email ID?
Okay, so for Campus France specifically, they usually just give you advice on the kind of institutions which are participating in the program. They won't personally, like Campus France India won't send your application like that. So they're just going to give you advice. If you just want to go for some advice and some counseling sessions, Alliance Française has Campus France offices in their own departments. So Delhi has one, I think Bangalore has one, Pune has one. So just check that. So if you just want to go for counseling sessions, Campus France India is great. But otherwise, of course, there is no application link because you need to apply through your institution. So say you apply to institution X, if the institution X is participating in the Eiffel program, then you need to show your interest in your admissions letter, in your form, for the institution, saying that I want to participate in, I want to get considered for the Eiffel Scholarship. Then they will send the application to Campus France in France, not in India. So there's no application link like that. So don't email anyone, they won't reply to you. So you need to apply through your institution. And for counseling, you should go to Campus France India.
Yeah. Like basically, there will be just a section in your form which says, do you want to be considered for Eiffel Scholarship? You just have to select yes. That's it. Okay. That's about it.
You muted, Ms.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think there were some questions about just the age limit and requirement. So maybe if you could both just sort of briefly address that as well.
Yeah. So to my understanding, ages 25 for masters, 30 for doctoral is an indicative age of the median range of ages that are usually gotten into the scholarship. But again, check the bylaws once more because I haven't read the bylaws in full because I read it in 2021. The bylaws may have been revised for 2023. The bylaws document is available on the Campus France website, so do read it. To my understanding, there was no age in the bylaws per se, but do check it again.
Right. There's also one question about the whether this scholarship is available for exchange programs like the Charpak scholarship.
Prathan, do you want to take a look at that? Yeah.
No, it is not for exchange. It is for 1 or 2 years of your master. Like for PhD, it's for 1 year, the Eiffel Scholarship, and for masters, it's for the duration of the masters, which is usually 2 years. So it is no nothing as such. How do? Sorry. Yes.
No, I was actually going to read the same question. How do we check which institutions are partners for the scholarship?
Going through the website, I think, would be a great idea. And also going to the website of the institution that you are applying to. So, for instance, Sciences Po has like a page on scholarships, and they mention all the scholarships that they give to their students, and also the external scholarships that Sciences Po admits are eligible for. So just go through the website of the institution and of Campus France.
Yeah, again, we've been getting the age question a lot. Check
Yeah.
again with your host institution as well. If they have any age limits per se that they would not send to the Eiffel Scholarship program. If the recent bylaws don't mention the age, then great, lovely, you're good to go. But again, 25 to 30 is usually indicative. It doesn't mean that it's fixed like that. It's not inclusive. So check again with your host institution, email their admissions office, check if they have any requirements per se, for because you are not going to send your application to the Eiffel program. Your host institution is going to send it for you. So check with them once again. Yeah, Pratna, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I checked the website. It's clearly mentioned, like it is 30 years for PhD students and for 25 years for masters. So I'm like sending the link again because I think that's what it's mentioned. Of course, like we don't have additional information other than what's already like available online. So yeah, that's what again, but like there's no harm in like cross-checking if that's something that you want to see.
Yeah. No, I was just saying that so the same scholarship has two portals, one for students and one for applicants. So the one that I sent earlier was for students, and the one that Pratna sent now is for institutions. And there it mentions that that encourages applicants up to 25 years old from developing countries at master's level, and applicants up to 30 years old from developing and industrialized countries at PhD level. So so that's what it says. But again, I think as Kunal and Pratna said, it's the best to just contact your host, sort of so the university that you're applying to, and just get a clarification if you are older than 25 or 30, depending on which program you're applying to. Just ask if they would still consider you for the scholarship. There is so there's one question: when the institute asks for a motivation letter to be attached in the dossier, does it mean motivation letter for the college or the motivation letter for the scholarship?
It mentions your motivation letter for the scholarship. So do not send your admissions motivation letter for the Eiffel, because when you are writing about the motivation letter to get admitted into a program, you are talking about your need for the program. Why do you want to get into that program X? For the scholarship motivation letter, you need to tell the campus fronts, the circle of the board of members, that why do you want aid? So the motivation letter for the scholarship already assumes that you've been admitted into a program. So you don't need to explain your need for the program because you've already been admitted. So you need a motivation letter that explains your need for aid. I hope that's clear now.
Also, in terms of like dossier, do you mean the admission dossier or the scholarship dossier? Because if it's the admission dossier, then they're probably asking the college motivation letter. But if it's like the scholarship dossier, then again, like as you know, we've been saying that it's different from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
normal SOP.
Yeah, because your scholarship dossier, which is sent by your host institution, will not send them your motivation letter for the program. They will ask for another statement, which is only for the scholarship, and they're going to attach it with your CV and all your documents and send it across. So your motivation letter to get admitted into a program will be discarded because you've already been accepted now.
Amazing. So there are two questions that are sort of related, so I'm just going to club them. There's one question about France and Paris. One question relates to just work opportunities after you finish your program, and the other relates to just sort of studying and living in that city. And if you have any sort of thoughts on how it is for international students to settle in and belong and feel.
Okay, so Pratna, take over the section for political science, and then I can take up econ, and then we can meet in the middle.
Yeah. So like for political science, of course, I like joined Sionspor because they have very good, methods focus. And that's why it was really interesting because it was at the master's level, the cohort was like, more international. So it was great in that aspect. And in terms of work opportunities, it also depends on which field you are in, right? Like if it's political science, if it's economics, or in general. So like it would be great if you clarify like what kind of work opportunities, because of course like we are doing a research degree, so the work opportunities that we look at are like more, research oriented. It can be RA-ship, or something on those lines, or working in think tanks, for instance. Of course, like if you know the language, your life would be like much easier, because though they speak English, but still like a lot of paperwork that happens. And living in the city in general, if you know the language, it becomes very easy. And in terms of the question of system and belongingness, I think it depends on you, how you form your circle. Like Kunal and I, we actually, like, we were part of a WhatsApp group before we came to, Paris. And that's how we became friends. And now, like, we are continuing our PhD, like continuing our education to PhD. So, we're going to be in the city for some time. So it also depends on how, how much are you taking efforts, go out, meet new people, stay in touch with them. And I think it's very important when you're living away from home. And I feel Paris as a city is amazing, especially for an international student, because you get a lot of perks, like you get housing assistance. And if you're under 26, you also get subsidized Navigo. So we are basically paying 50% of, what we would have paid if we were about 26. You have free entry to museums, so you can visit any museum. So these are the small perks that you have, if you're in Paris. So yeah, I'll hand it over to Kunal now.
Yeah, for economics, again, we are from a research background, so I'll give you more information on the research side after you graduate. Plenty of research opportunities in the department and elsewhere. RA-ships or pre-doctoral programs before you join the PhD. So research-wise, you said you have tons and tons of opportunities. Private sector, for sure, you do have opportunities, but getting a hold on the language is much more important. Especially for the private sector, you do need B1, B2 level French, because even if the office is bilingual, or even if it's English or has English clients, the work environment is in French in the office. So best to know the language so that you can easily converse with the HR and get your applications done. So plenty of opportunities there. Living wise, yeah, French, do need it. There's tons and tons of social security, social coverage. There is free social security for students. And if you get considered into the Eiffel programs, the thing is the social security by the government covers up to 60 to 70% of your health costs. The remaining 30 is taken up by a top-up insurance, a private insurance that you can take up for a premium, for a very meager premium per month, which will be reimbursed by campus funds. So those coverages are available. And your housing, once they help you find a house, a residence, or an apartment, they will subsidize the rent for you. So for me, my rent was about 600 per month, but I used to pay, or Campus France used to pay 300 on my behalf. The rest 300 was subsidized. So from 600, I get a 50% off on my rent for the month. So those kind of living standards are great, and given the money that they give you net of rent, you'll still be able to save a little bit and spend a little bit. So all that is great. Am I missing anything else?
Living in Paris wala part, like how is Paris as a city?
Okay. Yeah, it's lovely. If you're young, if you're less than 26 years old, things are free. All public museums maintained by the French government is free. You can see the Mona Lisa for free. It's all great. And also the metro. So the metro costs for private individuals and homeowners is now it's 89 euros a month. But for students and for Eiffel scholars as well, you get 50% off. So you're just paying 40 euros a month for a metro card that can let you travel the entire province. So Paris ke bahar, there's a huge province, Ile-de-France. You'll be able to go there for free. For free in the sense you'll be able to go through all the zones by paying just 40 a month. So those privileges are always available as a student here. So that's great. Plenty of cost saving opportunities. And yeah, I can take up some related questions in the chat perhaps. Scholarship, I'll just take up the Okay, Pavandeep's answer is, I think, mostly clear because it's quite similar to what we answered. Is the scholarship valid for 1 year only? Depends on your year of admission. So if you joined in first year of masters and your program is for 2 years, you'll get the funding for 2 years. If you are joining at M2, or if you are applying for the scholarship again at M2 in your registration for the second year, you'll get it renewed for just 1 year. So it depends on when you get your application sent and when you actually join. The joining date is September, which is fixed. And for the doctoral program, it's a little bit complicated, depends on when you come and when you go. So if you just stay here in France, from September onwards, it's going to be 3 years, so 36 months of funding. And it can change depending on your year of admission again. So just check your doctoral program related things once again. For the master's, pretty clear, 2 years.
I think for the PhD, I'm not sure what are the updated requirements, but you need to have a joint PhD program. Like just admission to the French Institute would not be enough. Like you need to have it. Like one of my friends who got in PhD, like his host institution was like one in Lebanon and like one in France, and that's how like he got in the program. So like there are specificities when it comes to the scholarship. So that's why like we're saying like go through the scholarship page once again for that.
Yeah.
Prarthna, I think there's the question. I don't know if you were answering that, but there's a question on
Yeah. So in terms of like thesis requirement, like for us, it was compulsory to like write a thesis and we were graded 20. That's how like the French system works. But I think it would be great if you could elaborate what's a master's research project, as in, because I'm not sure about that. The thesis forms an important, part of your PhD application, because at Sciences the internal funding is very tough. If you have external funding, I think your life is much easier in terms of PhD application. But for the internal funding, it's a bloodbath. Like Kunal and I were in the wait list, and like we finally got through, the internal funding. So it's difficult that way. So I think I would be able to answer your question if you could elaborate what do you mean by a master's research project. And yeah, because I am not sure if I could answer the question before, like without knowing what exactly do you mean by a research project, and like how is it different from a thesis.
Maybe Taskin, do you want to unmute and ask your question directly? If maybe that'll be easier. Yeah, I'm not sure if Taskin is still in. Yeah.
Okay, no worries. We could probably come to that question later, or or probably they can like just contact me later.
Yeah.
If she's not available, if they are not available at the moment.
Yeah, Prarthna, do remember to put your email on the.
मैंने डाला है, हाँ, I put my email.
Okay. Yeah, to my understanding, a research project and a thesis won't differ much. So a research project is, to me, sounds similar to a proposal, but you won't be doing you won't be implementing the proposal, which means that you won't be writing a thesis in your final semester, which you can't do that. So you need a thesis if you're in the research school. And yeah, 16 on 20 for pol science, and I think sociology and other subjects, it's a strict requirement. Economics doesn't mention it. There's no mention of a cutoff, but assume it's 16.
The marks on your thesis is like important. So like there are two main important criteria when it comes to PhD application. Your proposal needs to be really very good, and your master's thesis. Like that's what they had told us. That is what they would be judging when they grant funding. And especially when you're working on a topic, like both of us work on India, so for us to get external funding, it's very difficult. So like both of us were relying on internal funding to get through the PhD application. So I think that is something that you need to check it. But again, you can always like contact the Sciences Po political science department. They have the admin email addresses, so you can contact them to like check with them what is admissible to them, and then you can submit the documents accordingly. So that should not be an issue.
Yeah, I think my sense is also that a research project would not be very different from a thesis, perhaps, but would be good to clarify with the department if they would still consider it.
I think there's a question on is there a research project requirement for master's admission as well? No. But of course, but if you're applying for master's program that is, focused on research, you need to indicate that, you have, this research interest, because you need to differentiate why are you applying for the research school and not for like, Paris School of International Affairs of like Sciences Po. Why, what is it is encouraging you or motivating you to apply for a research, go for a research degree, because of course it's going to be a lot more intensive. So you need to just elaborate that probably in your like statement of purpose, but you don't need to have like a research project that okay, I want to work on this is my theme. It's not like the PhD. Kunal, would you want to add anything?
No. So again, just mention a theme that you would like to work in, or maybe some professors that you are interested in working in, or the research that you like. I mean, if you have a plan already of the kind of topics you want to work in, then lovely, that's great. And I'll say don't rub it in too hard, because for research, you'll be learning a lot of different skills that you haven't learned in the undergraduate. So your topic will definitely change after a point, after the second year, after the first year. So don't need to mention a full detail. No one asks for it. If you send it, great. But again, it will change. So no strict requirement, but a statement of interest in themes, it's better.
There's another question, which is since both of you are from non-life sciences background, how would you rate the master's program in biology in France?
Not the right person to really argue on this, because we are humanities people. But for biology and chemistry and medicine, there are a lot of great universities. It's in Paris. I think there's a Curie Institute, I think. Right, Prarthna?
Yeah, there's Curie. There's also like PSL also has like great science programs, and also Collège de France.
Yeah.
They have like I have a friend who's working there in physics though, but they have like great programs. Of course, like sciences, and I know a friend of mine who's from Algeria who's studying biology, and one of them is also studying like bioengineering, and I think they have like why they chose France is because they have like great lab facilities. That's what they say me. So this is basically what they are saying, and it's not something like I've experienced, but they are this has their experience. Even Sorbonne for that matter, Sorbonne University is good for sciences. So you can check that out. And it's always a good idea to talk to the current students, so you can have a better idea, because it all depends on what lab you want to work in, who are the professors, and what is the research group working on. So yeah, there
Just
are
doom scroll, yeah. Just
yeah.
doom scroll on LinkedIn on the website of specific universities and form your own opinion. Do not rely on university rankings, solely on university rankings. Talk to the faculty, because this is not an undergraduate program that you're applying to. You're applying to a master's program. So you need to make a right choice of subjects, the right choice of people you want to work with later, especially if you want to stay in research. So best to talk to the faculty yourself and then form an opinion.
Great. If there are any unanswered questions in chat, please put them in chat again so we can address them. If you have any question, then you can again still raise your hand and ask the question. Otherwise, we're doing very good on time. So, okay, yes, Pratul.
Ma'am, sorry if I was not able to catch it earlier, but how do we know if, let's say, our institution is a participant of this Eiffel Scholarship program? For example, I study in DU and I'm an SRCC, and I want to know if my college is a part of it or not. Is there any spreadsheet link or list whereby we can access it?
Not to my knowledge, no. Just pull up a list of your relevant host institutions and just email the admin. Usually they mention it if on their every university has a funding website for any international admit, so they will mention it there. Because Eiffel is super important anyway, so of course they're going to mention it on their website. If they don't, email.
I think you're getting confused between the institution that you are from currently and the institution that you would be applying. So you would have to like look at the like for example, if you want to apply to Sciences Po, right? So you have to look at Sciences Po's website because DU won't be participating in the Eiffel scholarship ka ye. It would be the Sciences Po would be participating in that, right? So you need to check the college ka website. Like in our case, it was Sciences Po, like university website. You know, are they participating in Eiffel? And like even Campus France has a list of host institutions. Most of the institutions, like as per my knowledge, most of the institutions do participate in the Eiffel Scholarship. But you know, just to be on the safer side, you can always check.
Yeah,
And that
yeah,
is key factor. So like the university usually, you know, say
yeah.
that in letters.
Even if it is a silly question to your mind, just email. It's best to not assume and just write even the silliest question. There is no silly question actually. So just write whatever you want, ask whatever questions you want, remove all doubts in your mind. Because if there's any problem in an application, the onus is on you.
Yeah, and also like they have like different administrative heads. In case of Sciences Po, they also have like a India head. Okay, so like you can always you know, and it's they help you out with the application if you know if you're facing any difficulties. When I was applying, I troubled the India head a lot. A lot. Okay. So in a way that all the questions that I had, I asked her and she was very understanding. So you know, there's no harm in like asking questions.
Got it. Thank you so much again.
Yeah, I think yeah. Okay, so there's two questions. One is there a Telegram or WhatsApp group for French scholarship circles that the team is aware of since students are from diverse background, tech, science, etc.? I'm not aware of any, but
No, for our cohort 2021, it was a private. Some admit had posted on LinkedIn to make a WhatsApp group for Indians. So I don't think there is a that group might exist, but I have no idea. So if you want, you can make a group yourself, connect with people on LinkedIn, and make a group. Telegram, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think how our group was formed, like it was a Facebook group earlier, and then it like migrated to like
Yeah.
WhatsApp. So usually, like Sciences Po, like you can form yours on Facebook, of course. Like for some instance, like Facebook is very much a thing in France. Like in back in India, like only like parents use Facebook, but here like Facebook is used a lot. Which is there, but yeah, so that is there. You can always like connect, and there is like Indians in France Facebook group, if I'm not wrong. There people just don't talk about scholarships, but they also talk about like you know living in France, if they are celebrating any festivals, so on and so forth. But yeah, that's something you can probably check.
There was a question. Wait, let me just read. So you're talking about rankings or about management programs should be not considered for the same. I think management programs have another set of rankings apart from the QS. I think Times does it, alag se. Then there is, I think, some business magazines and newspapers which do it. You need to check it again. But even QS has a drop-down list for management and humanities, which has specific rankings like that. So you can check there for business school rankings. I think that should be fine.
Yeah, and also you can check subject-wise ranking because subject-wise ranking be differ karta na, so you
Yeah.
can check that.
Yeah, and for economics, I mentioned ideas Repec. I swear by it. I don't like the QS per se, personally. Ideas Repec is much better. For management, there has to be some other journalistic websites who do it for you.
okay. Any other questions? Final questions. Otherwise, I think we've answered all questions in chat, so we can close the session. But again, like if anyone has any question, please ask now. Sorry, do I see it? No, okay. And again, I've put in chat the email IDs of the speakers and the the email ID of Project EduAccess. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us. I'm also putting in chat two links. One is of all the resources that Project EduAccess has created and all sort of recordings of sessions that we've done before. So we've put them in on our website, and we've also uploaded. So for all of the workshop that we started that we've done this year, we've uploaded them on our YouTube, and so you can see them there. You will also be able to see a recording of this session on our YouTube. So in case you joined in late or missed something, you can have a look at the recording. I think that's about it.
Yeah, there was two more queries. One was about LinkedIn's. Just search our name on the website, you'll find us. So no worries about that. Another was on wait, I'll just read out. I think it was one. I was looking for a second master's from France. Is there anyone who could help me further if required? I think just email. Just first of all, understand what second master's you want to do, and if it's related to humanities, pol science, economics, and related fields, then you can just come up with specific questions and you can just email us or just
Yeah.
text us on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Similarly, Dhanjay, if there's any specific queries that you have, you can email us at info@projecteduaccess.com and we'll respond to your queries. And we've done application sort of recordings on applications in different countries. And so you can have a look at the recording on our YouTube and our website. So that might be a good way to start for you. I think that's about it. Thank you so much, Prarthna and Kunal, once again for joining us and for being so patient and answering all of the questions that came your way. And thank you everyone who joined us today. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to email us. And all the best for your applications. And thank you, Kunal, Prarthna, once again. Have a nice rest of the day.
Bye.